Hi, everybody, and welcome. We have an amazing show for you today. More inspirational leaders and some incredible ideas to help you with your career. Today, we have from the Exceptional Women Awardees Foundation, Subhash Samuels. Subhash is the Managing Director of KPMG Risk Advisory, and she knows lots about IT for big companies as well. In addition, we have Sochi Montion. Sochi is the Chief Privacy Officer of Intel, and she's a Vice President for Information Technology and Governance, and also an expert on global privacy and governance. We are so lucky to have both of them with us today. I'm Lorraine Siegel. I'm the Chair, CEO, and founder of the Exceptional Women Awardees Foundation. We enable high-level, high-potential women to rise in their careers. Why did we start the foundation? Well, when I came to America 46 years ago from South Africa, I was clueless. I had no idea how the system worked. And all through my career as a lawyer and then as a CEO and as a board director, I had decided I wanted to come back and enable women who walked the road less traveled, like myself, to have a mentor and a network of women leaders on which to rely for life. And that's exactly what we've done with the Exceptional Women Awardees Foundation. These are women who will inspire you. And every month we bring two more amazing leaders to inspire you as we have today. So let's get right to it. Sochi, the cyber environment has changed dramatically with COVID. How has it affected you, and what are your thoughts on the industry changes?
So what I would say what COVID has brought, it's brought a new type of threat vector. The mechanism that is really being used to exploit it are very similar tactics. So think of social engineering, think of phishing emails that you might get with the title of COVID-19 in them. Think of embedded URLs or COVID-19 web domains. So these are all tactics that those that try to exploit individuals leverage. They're always focusing on fear, trying to get you to click. So really that's what we've seen with COVID. We've seen very similar techniques being leveraged as part of this the event. And we've seen quite a bit of it over the first half of the year. The other thing that we have seen is ransomware, although it's changed somewhat this year. Whereas before it was a broad net being cast, what we're beginning to see is a lot more selective campaigns being targeted at those that can be extorted and pay more easily.
And so what are your strategies, Sochi, for this kind of explosion in malware in a way?
Yeah, so we look at our employees as an extension, right? So ensuring that they're aware, ensuring that they're trained, ensuring that we leverage the same techniques that we've used before. We have very active educational programs internally with phishing campaigns. So it's really continuing that drumbeat, ensuring that all those that are working remote are aware of the exposures. For example, making sure that their home networks are secure. So that's also being leveraged as well, brute force attacks off routers or home networks. So it's educating them, making them aware, and really leveraging our existing internal security alliance group to secure our processes in our business.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Subhash, you have an incredible global clients, and this must be top of mind. How are you in the risk advisory area dealing with these issues?
Firstly, thank you, Lorraine, for having me and Sochi present today on a discussion that is so relevant to both our industries and what is happening right now with our clients in the business environment. If I could paint a picture of what's really happening with my clients today, historically, they would have about 200 remote workers, while currently that number could be in excess of the thousands. So now they've had to provide more laptop computers, more PCs to workers that were historically at their physical facility. As you can imagine, this, and Sochi can attest to this, this has led to many backlogs, more IDs and VPN IDs being allocated, and just an overall impact on the entire IT infrastructure in terms of servers, routers, networks. So KPMG is really actively working with understanding the COVID environment, staying ahead of trends. We know the hackers have just got smarter and are using this time to use old tricks as well as new tricks. So really working together with our clients to say, okay, let's reconsider what the risks are. Let's perform effective ongoing risk assessments and see what solutions we can come up with that's unique to your environment.
So Subhash, who do you connect with in the client company? Is it the CFO, since obviously KPMG is a huge accounting firm, but you're in the risk advisory area. So who is your actual contact within the client that you connect with?
So I work in IT advisory, and that's a really good question because I serve both sides of what would typically be the external audit or the internal audit. I work with a variety of CFOs. Typically, they could be the first people that contact me with an issue. But I'm really familiar with the CIOs, and I have really good relationships built to really understand their day-to-day activities. So CIOs, CFOs, and also the CISOs, which, as Sochi will tell you, play really important role in overall cybersecurity and infrastructure.
And very, very important those roles are too, absolutely. So when you think, Sochi, about privacy, and there has been so much going on with companies like Facebook and others coming before Congress and testifying as to their privacy rules. When you think about privacy from a technology standpoint, Sochi, how does that impact what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, privacy and security are inseparable. And with our always on culture, and even more so with so many of us working from home, maintaining our employees' privacy while also maintaining strong security posture is really critical for companies. And that includes knowing your regulatory requirements, partnering very closely with your legal organization, ensuring that you have appropriate monitoring, you understand the requirements that need to be met, and then you focus on alignment to your internal policies, to your cybersecurity controls, and then to internal operational processes. And by doing all that, it really allows you to make a very complex situation a bit more simple. And it's very similar to what I mentioned on the security front, ensuring that you have an educated workforce that serves as a force multiplier for privacy, and you focus on the integration, not only on the training component, but also in operational processes, and it becomes part of your DNA. So that's really the way we approach it. They're connected. Privacy and security are really inseparable. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, I love that. And what I like about your answer is that there's a human element to this. So, you know, when you think about...
Oh, absolutely. It's the human perimeter, Lorraine. Yes.
Absolutely. When you think about IT, when you think about accounting, it all seems so technical. So, Subhash, I know that you have tremendous client skills. How does the human element enter into your advisory when you may have clients that are pretty nervous about all of this? And how does the accounting and IT intersect?
You know, that's an interesting question, Lorraine, because we know technology has always played a part in making accounting a little easier. But as our knowledge of technology increases, so does the accountant's ability to be able to now use that data and improve analysis around it. So from KPMG's perspective, or what I do in my day-to-day business, it's really helping my clients understand the impact of technology, the risks around it, and really provide them with means to be able to address those challenges, whether it's in security or change management, or if they're implementing a new system, or they're dealing with a particularly complex problem related to vendor risk management around IT.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I can see we have a lot of questions coming in. So let's see, maybe one of our viewers who has asked a very interesting question. Let's put up the first one and we'll share it. Jennifer from Salt Lake City asks, it seems there are very few women in cybersecurity. Well, that is for sure. Has it been difficult to find your way in that arena? And Sochi, let's throw that to you first.
Sure. So I would say it didn't start in cybersecurity. I actually started in environmental health and safety and engineering. Shortly thereafter, that was, and I'll date myself, it was in the early 1990s, where the term disaster recovery and business continuity was leveraged quite a bit that to some degree included a lot of the confidentiality, integrity, and availability components within cyber. So it was this natural progression into cyber in various types of industries. And I think what it takes to really be successful in cyber is to have a passion for learning, a passion to really take on very difficult problems, and to be very comfortable with an environment that's constantly changing. So there's always something to learn. There's always a different way of looking at a problem. And then you have this amazing talent in this ecosystem around you that you just get to work with some extremely talented, brilliant people. And that's what really motivated me to continue in this particular path for so many years. And I can guarantee you, because it's always changing, it's never boring.
I can imagine that. But Soshi, just going back for one question, because I know that this question Subhash can answer easily, but were you good at math in school? Was that part of what you were good at? And do you think being good at math is part of what you need to have to go into that space?
You know, that's interesting. So yes, I was good at math. I love math. But I think it's being analytical. And what's really interesting is you see a lot of individuals that have started in psychology and sociology that have excelled in this space, because the other component, which you mentioned earlier, it's about technology, but more importantly, it's about how humans think. So the sociology and psychology component, coupled with the technology component, really makes an amazing cybersecurity professional. So it's a really interesting balance between those two. So I think you could take either route, because cybersecurity is pretty broad. You could be a cybersecurity analyst. You can focus on compliance. You could be someone that focuses on pen tests. So it's a pretty broad spectrum.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, Subhash, I know that you started studying to become an actuary in South Africa, right? So how did you get into that field and to where you are now today, which is mind-blowing in terms of your success, both of you?
Yeah, I was definitely very interested in business science. So I started off in college with actuarial, but then pursued a major in information systems and computer science. And I think, it was just an ongoing interest in technology. And I met KPMG when I was 18 years old. Someone took a chance on me and gave me a unique opportunity in KPMG's practice, and it was then called information risk management. And just sounded very exciting and provided me experiences working with global clients. And, I was a child of apartheid South Africa, so being given those opportunities to travel and explore is what really changed my mind to get into this field.
Oh, that's amazing. And I know we come from the same country, so we have similar experiences. Jennifer, you asked a good question. You can see there's a lot of depth in that. I can see there's another question, so let's put that one up. This is also interesting. Juan from Mexico City asks, I'm currently looking for a mentor, and I wanted to know if you had any tips on what qualities you look for as a mentor and how can he be a good mentee? All right, go for it, Subhash.
So that's a really great question, because I think the mistake I made earlier on in my career was looking for mentors who were just like me and thought the same way I think. But as I progressed, I realized I needed the perspective of people who were very different from me and who could give me unique perceptions and ideas around things. And so when I look for a mentor, of course, it has to be someone who has the same qualities that I aspire to, someone who's open and honest and transparent, but also someone who doesn't think like me. So that's what I typically look for.
And I think that's actually risky, and it's very good because it pulls you into areas that you would not have been in otherwise. So Soshi, you have also an amazing background, having grown up as a Latina, still a Latina. And from Juan's point of view, maybe you have some extra things to add.
Yeah, absolutely. So I belong to a few internal groups within Intel, as well as also membership. So I think diversity of thought is also very important, because there are differences in the way various people look at things. I mentor a lot of Latinas internally, within Intel and then externally. And a lot of it is really providing coaching, right? Being raised in a very traditional family. I was born in Mexico, immigrated here when I was pretty young. It's just a different way of being brought up. You always ask for permission. You don't really necessarily take a lot of risks. You wait. You raise your hand. You wait quietly to be acknowledged. So the tooting your own horn, I would say advocating for yourself isn't something that, if you're brought up very traditionally, you necessarily do. So I completely agree with Subhash on getting that different perspective, getting comfortable with self-promotion, getting comfortable with taking on initiatives or projects that you might feel you're not 100% capable of doing. And I think it's something that I do, and I think something a lot of women do, where it's really getting comfortable with taking chances, with taking risks, and picking up those initiatives or jobs that you may normally not raise your hand. That's where a mentor is just amazing, to just kind of give you that little push that you need to build that self-confidence.
You know what's so funny? Subhash is smiling, and so am I, because we both grew up in South Africa in the very different environments. It was exactly the same thing. Subhash, do you want to address that? Because it's so funny. We are more alike than we are different.
Yes, I was thinking about it earlier today that, Sochi, I was very fortunate to be her mentor liaison in the program, but I think I've learned in return so much from Sochi. But I realized that even though we were born across the world, I grew up in apartheid South Africa, she was born in Mexico City, we actually have so much in common because of the challenges women go through. And like Lorraine said, coming from South Africa, I had to deal with a lot of things, not just the segregation, but also the gender biases. So it got me to being comfortable being the only woman in the room at times. And it really requires you to be comfortable in your own skin and grow in confidence and really believe in yourself every day as you do this work.
And I am so amazingly proud to know both of you and call you friends, because you are both so accomplished and you have overcome so much to be where you are today. So I have one technical question to ask, which is because I think a lot of our audience are really concerned about emerging trends. So, Sochi, do you have any ideas on what the emerging trends are in either IT or privacy or cyber today that we should look out for?
Yeah, well, I believe the ones that work will continue, right? So social engineering, which I mentioned, phishing, it's a very successful tactic, and it will continue to be leveraged. Why? Because people click. It's human nature. So we will continue to see that trend. The other trend that we will see a lot more of, although a lot of companies have already migrated to the cloud, what COVID has forced is really it's forced a very rapid digital transformation for maybe some of those companies that were lagging a little bit behind. So something that would normally take years was accomplished in months. So as we look at that, the cloud workload and the security components around those are an area that we should be very mindful of. That includes ensuring that we have visibility and control within that environment, that we have appropriate configuration of systems, and that we also have a good understanding of our DevSecOps processes and that they're integrated into the development process. And again, remote and mobile workforce will continue to persist for some time. So it's back to ensuring that those employees that are working from home are being secure and are following corporate policies.
Yeah, absolutely. And Subhash, you serve many global companies. So yes. Not only are you dealing with things that are going on in one country, but things that are going on in other countries. And not every country has been handling this COVID situation or even the cyber situation similarly. So how do you deal with that with your client guidance and advice?
Yeah, I mean, I think in line with what Sochi says, what we're seeing globally across the board, especially with my global clients, is consistent with what we're seeing locally. So I think Sochi mentioned, we have the remote access risk issue. We have the cloud management and governance risks associated with that. We do have insider threats. But I really think, as I look to helping my global clients, I'm really seeing the topics of focus being around cloud, automation, RPA, the use of robotics and AI. It's incrementally, just growing at a very fast pace that we have to keep up with. The use of analytics and then blockchain, and if you haven't heard, the use of 5G. So those are things I'm really, working closely to understand better, make sure that my clients have the right governance and compliance around those topics.
Well, it's a big responsibility that both of you have. I know that we have lots more questions. So I saw one there that was from working from home. So if you can get that one up on the screen, I think that would be a very interesting one for our ladies here today. There it is. Shani from Los Angeles asked, have you been working from home and how has that helped or hurt you personally? And I know that you're in different parts of the US. So Subhash, how has that affected you?
Towards the beginning of COVID, I realized that I was going from maybe seeing 3 clients a day to now having this non-ending, list of calls on my schedule. So as I started to think through it, surprisingly, working virtually has allowed me to connect with more of my clients, which has been working well with clients I've had for a while where I am a trusted advisor. With newer clients, I'm putting a lot more effort trying to get to know them in this virtual environment. But I think for me, just working remote, setting boundaries for myself has been the most important thing. Like making sure I have scheduled time for meals and coffee breaks, because I'm guilty of just packing my calendar from early morning till late evening. So really, trying to manage my work-life balance around that.
Yeah, I don't think we have a work-life balance right now. I certainly know that I'm glued to Zoom from 7 in the morning until 10 at night, and it just doesn't seem to change. So Soshi, you have also such a huge set of responsibilities. How are you dealing with working from home yourself?
So I think it's similar to what Subhash mentioned. It's very easy to start the day, at 6 a.m. and stay on until 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. and not eat or forget to get up and stretch. So I've also been very mindful of putting in hard breaks and stops. And then I would say very importantly is ensuring that my team is doing the same thing, right? Because you need to role model those behaviors. And I think that balance for the extension of your team needs to be really important. So prioritization is key. Getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, especially sitting behind a screen all day. You just need to be really mindful of what you need to maintain that energy to continue on the next day and focus on what you need to deliver. But I think it's really being intentional.
You're so right. We coined a phrase here at EWA called the Chief Empathy Officer instead of the CEO. And we're seeing that in a lot of companies. Are you finding, Sochi, that when you start a meeting, you're asking people how they feel, or is that sort of not part of the touchy-feely stuff in tech?
No, I am. So you would be proud of me. I'm becoming more touchy-feely. I am asking a lot more. And I think it's key because it's, just like we've all mentioned on the phone, it's really, really easy to get sucked into working 12, 13 hours a day. And the health checks are critical. And I do start off with health checks. How are people doing? How are their families? What do they do on the weekend? Anything else they want to discuss before we move into, the priorities of the day. But that's really important, ensuring mental health, as well as general wellness is top of mind.
Yeah, that's terrific. Did you want to add some more, Subhash, on that? You agree, right?
Yes, I completely agree. And I think, people has always been a very, very important focus for me. At KPMG, I'm very proud to serve as a culture champion. And I firmly believe people are our biggest asset, especially in professional services, especially with what Sochi does and with her team. And so continuing to reach out and invest in our people and really hear what motivates them and what works for them in this virtual environment is really a very, very important thing to do as a leader. And I hope other leaders will continue to invest time and energy in making sure that our people are treated well.
Yeah, and I think both of you are probably experiencing the leaders who haven't stepped up to do that. And I think that it's becoming quite obvious who is a good leader from a people sense as well as from an innovation sense. And those are really important. We have just a few more minutes left, but I have one question that I really want to just mention because it's very contrasted. Subhash, you have stayed with the same company all your life. Sochi, you've moved around. Subhash, give us one or two benefits that come from staying with the same company, and then Sochi, one or two benefits that come from moving around.
I get asked this question a lot, and I stayed with KPMG my entire career, but I feel like it's given me so many different opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I had been, moving around in industry. I have worked at so many offices. I started in Cape Town, went to Johannesburg, then served out of London and Amsterdam, and then moved to the United States. So I think the diversity of experience, the things that I've had to do working with so many global companies across industries has really been what's kept me happy for so long. And at the end of the day, I just work at a place that I'm really proud to say I work for. So I think those are my reasons.
I love them. And Sochi, what are the one or two benefits that come from moving to different companies throughout your career?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's been a pivot from different types of careers. Like I mentioned, I started out in environmental engineering, transitioned over to IT, and then I did professional consulting, management consulting for a few years. So for me, it's just been the ability to, I would say, really go deep in various industries, whether it was pharmaceutical, biotech, government, education, high tech. So I think it gives you the ability to move vertically or horizontally within an organization. But I agree with Subhash, it can be achieved within a very large company. And I'm very fortunate that Intel offers that as well. I've had the ability to move in different areas within the organization. So I think if you're in an organization that promotes growth and learning and caring and fostering of their employee workforce, it can be achieved in an organization as well. And, Intel is one of those as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm afraid we've come to the end of our show. Christine from Chicago, that was a good answer to your question. I want to thank our ladies. Thank you so much. You are really tremendous guests. And we have more shows for you. On October 19th, we will be featuring Kimberly Reese, who is the president of Total Care Auto. And she will talk about her role in the insurance company, one of the Larry H. Miller corporations. And then we have Brianna Stott, who is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Finwell. Finwell is a registered California investment advisor, and they help large and small company employees to address their finances so that they're set up for the rest of their lives. This is going to be more wonderful insight and inspirational views from our women. And in addition to that, I have a question for you. Have you ever been hacked? And if you were, what did you do about it? So please join us with our next show. You can also replay this show if you wish to. And my email will go up in a few moments. And I would like you to email me with your questions and any comments you might have. Thank you so much, everybody. We had such a good time. Thank you to all of you. And we'll see you on October 19th. Thank you. Bye now.